All right. Welcome, everybody, to our Horizon Weekly Insider number 128. Today is Monday, March 21st of 2022. We are live on Discord and YouTube as usual. Thank you for joining us. And please be aware that this call is being recorded and you can also check it out later in our Horizon Plus podcast. Also, please remember to ask your questions on Menti so we can answer the top three at the end. We are going to be providing here the link on the chat section. As usual, let's kick it off with our first update from the engineering department. Welcome, Alberto.
Hi, Angie. Thank you. So let's start with Zendu as usual. Okay, as already announced in the previous weeks, we have been working on a new software release that is version 3.10, and this is being released today. In parallel, we have already sent out 2 rounds of notification to all our partners to keep them informed about the new release. And I mean miners, node operators, exchanges, third-party wallets, and so on. And we plan to send a total of 4 rounds to make sure everyone updates to the new software. The next communication will happen this week and the final one next week. Okay, now switching to the SDK. Also for the Blaze SDK, we have an important release coming out. This was anticipated during the last weeks. It's version 0.30, and it brings the C sidechain withdrawal functionality, among other things. The release is happening right after the release of Zen 3.10, which I just mentioned in my previous update. And then another important update, always regarding the SDK, is that last week we finished working on the EVM sidechain prototype that was finalized and presented internally. And I mean, the prototype already integrates the Ethereum virtual machine in an Horizen sidechain. And so from the prototype, we have been able to show how to, let me say, create a transaction that is able to declare a smart contract, create a transaction and execute it on the chain, and let me say, having the state updated by this transaction, and then having another kind of transaction able to, let me say, invoke a method on this smart contract and update the state accordingly, and also transfers, for example, coins to Zen in this case, to the contract itself, and having, let me say, the system managing that. And the prototype, let me say, was able to, you can interact with the prototype via RPC APIs. And so this was, let me say, the final result of this first phase. And the next step consists in moving on with the other activities that are needed for the actual, let's say V1 version of the EVM sidechain. So a lot of interesting stuff and challenging things to do for the next part of the development. Okay, now let's switch on the proving system, where the last week we conducted a lot of code review sessions for different parts of the code. In some cases, a few changes were requested, and we proceeded to address them. As an example, we performed a first round of review of the polycommit verifier gadget, and we also started the development of some optimization for this gadget, which would significantly allow to reduce the number of operations over non-native fields. Furthermore, among the various things, we also finished addressing the change requests on DLog and TDlog accumulator on Marlin, and after the first round of the code review. Okay, that's it for today. Back to you, Angie.
Great. Thank you so much, Alberto, for the engineering updates. All right, so let's move on to the product and engineering portion. And this time it's going to be Victor providing us the updates. Welcome, Victor.
Hi, thanks, Angie. For this week, we have to inform that we are ready with the porting of Blaze also to GameChain. So anytime we will provide this update, the software update also to our partner in game development. And so we will start as soon as possible with a little less priority than the tokenization platform to start deploying this sidechain also to testnet. About the tokenization platform, we have good news because this week we are releasing for the public both the sidechain and the block explorer. The web wallet will be released soon after. We have a small delay that let's say that we have accumulated during this week also, and unfortunately due to the war in Ukraine. I'm sorry for that. And we have also decided the name for the web wallet, so we can at some point finish calling it a web wallet. I cannot disclose the name at this point, sorry. We have an update also for the monitoring system that for that we anticipated that we have a new way of controlling the status of the sidechains and of the sidechain nodes in order to receive some events and notification as well. This is an internal project, started as an internal project, but we ended up thinking that it can be good to offer such functionalities also for SDK users. So we designed a special software that will come with two pieces. One that is meant for people who prefers to receive data instead of looking data at the dashboard that we can provide, and the other that is a reference design, a front end to look at this data. To speak a little about the architecture, we will have a software that is looking at the internal logs produced by the sidechain node that will also take care of aggregating data and sending them to a remote database cluster. And with this data, you can decide what to do. And the minimum that you can get from it is the status of all your network, because you can, let's say, select the sidechain ID to monitor and a set of nodes that are going to be monitored, because you could be interested in looking at just a set of nodes that are controlled so that for the first phases of launching a new sidechain app can be good to check if everything is fine, or to check the whole network. To provide a small update also on what the sidechain team is developing right now, we have started since a couple of weeks the development of what we call internally Milestone 3. That is the tokenization platform sidechain that is bringing also NFTs. So we already added the basic support for NFTs. This version of the sidechain app is not yet available, not yet tested, even in testnet. So it's something that we are working on, but it's on track. So as you can see from the slide, we should be able to test it for the first time in the mid of April with the code complete for the whole scope of Milestone 3. And that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Victor, for the updates. Now let's welcome Rob for the leadership portion and the Q&A session.
All right, everyone. Thank you, Angie. Angie, it was cool to hear that this is the 128th Weekly Insider. I have to say that's not too shabby, and it shows that we've been at this for a while, and just doing the weekly grind, it's kind of easy to forget that. And the reason why it just resonated with me when you said it was because someone mentioned to me on Twitter, I think maybe last week, that we're not so transparent as a project. Which struck me as a little weird. So I'm not sure if it was like an actual legit comment or maybe just someone trolling, or maybe someone that just doesn't know all of the different communication channels that we have ongoing here, and probably someone that, if it was a real comment, probably doesn't call into these meetings or listen to them on YouTube afterwards. I think we're pretty transparent, but I mean, the bottom line is We always want to be more so. So please, guys, ask questions, make comments, suggestions, and just remember this is your community. Okay, so the next thought here was that, or the next topic was that our thoughts are very much still with our team and community who continue to be impacted by the brutal war in Ukraine. So you can see the impacts actually do, or we actually do have impacts to our workflows. Sure, but we can say that they're being managed well. But more importantly than any kind of work delivery, it's just important that our people stay safe. So we're continuing to track everyone, continuing to do everything we can to get our people out, or at least just take care of them and their families, and make sure that we can mitigate this disaster as best we can together. Okay, so rolling into the workflows here, guys, we're in process, like Victor said, of delivering Token Mint. We're delivering it to testnet initially, and multiple components are being delivered this week. We already have the sidechain components on testnet, and the team has already been starting development on support, on NFT support. So the team's just crunching away. We're in process of delivering. We do have some delays in there, some from just the situation that's going on around the world, and some where we're just like on our wallet as an example that we're a little bit delayed on, but things are rolling, and we should be getting this live into production. So things are going into the testnet now, and we should be getting into production next month after some very rigorous testing. But as a community, you'll be able to test everything out directly, install the web wallet in your browser, and so forth. And also, I'm looking forward to hearing the name of it myself. Other really important work here, Alberto mentioned it, but we had a tech demo of the EVM integration for the POC version of that last week with our partners at Tixel. So they've managed to successfully compile Solidity code to a Horizen sidechain. That's a really big deal. So as a proof of concept, it's a really big deal, but now we have a bunch of work ahead of us. It's nice to show that we have a path to do it and we can make something simple work and compile. Great, but now we need to actually structure the next phase of the project, going from POC to MVP. So we have our partner company, Tixel, who's done a fantastic job, but we'll be adding to the mix, like number one, structuring a formal steering committee like we do for Token Mint. The steering committee will be comprised of basically cross-functional within the organization, so that we make sure that, yes, this is a heavy technology delivery, but we also need to make sure that there are a variety of other, say, like business components or product components and tools and such that get developed alongside. So when we deliver a coherent package here as a platform, much like we're doing on the Token Mint side. We're now in process of forming the integrated team. So we'll be assigning team leads on the product, the engineering lead side, and then just adding cross-functional team members, say like product manager, business development, strategy, marketing, and the different complement of a team that will be required to deliver this holistically. And then we'll be quickly scoping work and kicking things off immediately. That said, the team that was here in Milan last week, working together and brainstorming the next phase, we all realize that we will be fully replicating an Ethereum node. So it's not like work is stopping this week as we structure. The team's just pressing forward on just that simple objective. Simple in the sense that the complete objective of fully replicating an Ethereum node. And the thought goes that if we do that right, then we'll be able to do all of the other integrations that we need to happen to build the ecosystem. We'll be able to do them right as well. So that said, key to our success will be the sidechain to sidechain interoperability. So by that, I mean with Zen2 right now, we have the ability for Zen to go forward and backward with transfers from main chain to sidechain, main chain to any type of sidechain, sidechain back to the main chain. We don't yet have the ability coded in there for sidechain to sidechain transfers. And this will be key if we're going to be successful as an ecosystem. And you can see what we're doing here. We're deploying Token Mint so that you can mint, any type of or any number of fungible tokens. Soon it'll include non-fungible tokens, but you have to be able to do something with them. On the other hand, we're going to be deploying an Ethereum virtual machine as a sidechain. So we'll have flexible smart contracting capabilities, which is basically where the whole, doing things with your tokens really comes into play. So we have to have that bridge in between them. We have to have a seamless way for tokens to be minted and then sent over to a smart contract for things to happen like staking and other types of dApps that use tokens. So we know that this is going to be a high priority because we don't want standalone chains. So basically, this gets to the heart of the value of what is Horizen, right? Those two magical things I keep on telling you guys, and I'm going to keep on telling you for the weeks and months we have ahead of ourselves here. Compatibility and interoperability. Well, this goes to the interoperability piece. So the EVM gives us compatibility with Ethereum, but now we have to have interoperability natively within our ecosystem to really make Horizen have a value that goes above and beyond just the kind of EVM components that will be important, but are not the be all end all for what is Horizen. Okay, so we'll be programming that work, and there'll be more forthcoming on it. Alberto is going to be going through some design sessions that are then going to actually structure the work, and then we should have timelines and resources loaded into it and all that kind of stuff to share with you guys. The other big thing I want to mention is that HCC, the Horizen Community Council, is imminently getting ready to kick off. I believe it's next week. They're literally kicking off next week with the first council member meeting. So it's going to be the opening session. And then you're going to hear directly from the council. It won't be me just talking about the HCC. It'll be the HCC talking to you guys and interacting with you guys directly. So get ready for some important topics to be discussed. And in fact, I may submit some myself. There are a variety of things that I would like to see in this ecosystem that I've been holding off on because I just fundamentally believe we need legitimate community governance here and proper kind of decentralized governance. Therefore, we haven't done some things that I'm pretty adamant that I think need to be done, but I wanted to get this structure in place. So I'll even submit some topics myself, but I really encourage everyone here who takes the time and bothers to listen to this broadcast or watching the YouTube, consider joining, consider participating, check it out, make your voice heard, make sure that they understand your opinions and weigh in the discussions that will be forthcoming. So the main goal for the HCC Council, like immediately, will be literally just to get to the next phase of the council, which means opening it up to more council members and creating some structure for deliberation. Another important update here is that treasury operations are being decentralized with the next XND hard fork in April. This is a really big deal because thus far the foundation has had kind of, you could just say multi-sig control over the treasury, just kind of like a custodian of the treasury. Now we're going to like literally decentralize just that multi-sig control with this next hard fork update. This is a really big deal for us guys. So what it does is it effectively removes control from the foundation and puts it into a more decentralized basis. So it's something that we're really proud of and goes towards just better ecosystem governance. And you just see the methodical way that we're doing this is as the technology is being delivered, we're also working on those social governance institutions and just ways of doing things. And HCC, then also just treasury management are big parts of that. So, all right, I'll stop here and we can open it up to any Q&A.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob, for the updates and as well for everybody contributing with your questions. Let's see, top three. The first one is, what were the key lessons learned from the Ape coin launch? What did you learn through this experience that may save time, money, effort for Horizen in the future?
Oh man, so much. I don't even know where to start. I wish Dean was on the call right now because he was the guy who really ran that project. I can tell you from my perspective, I'll give you a few things, and then Rohan, if you want to take a minute and think about on your end, maybe you could chime in as well. But I'll say from my perspective, one huge lesson was sometimes you don't need to wait for things to be ready and perfectly in place before you just dive in. Sometimes it's okay to take that challenge a little bit in advance of when you would normally do it. And by this, I mean that we've been developing our own technology that you could say was, I don't know, parallel to Ethereum, but not really. We weren't really in that Ethereum Web3 world as an ecosystem. And what we did here was we said, well, we want to rapidly get into that world because there are so many interaction effects that really matter in Web3. All of these thousands or tens of thousands of developers and companies that are coming together to build this ecosystem. We want to get in there. We want to get in there to the heart of it right away. So we took on this really high profile project and then just kind of retooled on the fly and gained just deep expertise very quickly. And internally, we've had to restructure just how we do things to just have a very delivery-focused mindset. And then also just from a pragmatic perspective, the teams just worked in a very kind of like nimble or agile framework with really good product and project management on top of this project. It was just kind of a delivery machine, and the team just did a fantastic job. And I didn't say it before, but I actually regret it one time when I was talking about this project previously. I forgot to give huge credit to Dean. I mean, Dean's the guy who really drove this project forward and delivered massively successfully, and just did a fantastic job. And also the rest of the team that participated in this, it's just amazing that they were able to come together so quickly, figure out what needed to be done, and just act like complete top of their game professionals to execute the way they did. I'd say so in a nutshell, those would be my main themes. But Rohan, I know you're a little bit more in tune with everything. If there's anything else you want to add to this.
Yeah, no, I think that you summarized it really well, Rob. I think I'll just add quickly my 2 cents here was I think two things really stood out. One was on the operations management aspect, right? We're in a space where things tend to move really fast, really quickly. The mentality is move fast, break things, and that's kind of the Silicon Valley mantra overall as well. But in this case, we were so happy to see how the community as a whole responded as to how well orchestrated the entire aspect of this launch was, right? And I think that goes down to the question, it's not about going into the market fast, but doing it right and making sure we have all the building blocks and we're taking care and spending time to make sure things are done the right way. So that's one of the biggest learning lessons, right? And that has helped our team here in BD and Horizen Labs and Horizen Foundation at large just to think through why, where we need processes, what's the importance of it, and how we communicate to the broader audience, whether it be our community or our partners and clients. That's one. And two is just proactively managing next steps, right? Thinking through beyond the current state of affairs, what else value add we can provide to the broader ecosystem or the partner in this case, and thinking through that more analytically and strategically so that we continue to provide value add services to whoever we end up working with, right? So I think those two really stood out, and the team really outperformed on both of those goals, and we continue to build on our learning and how to continue to make this better, right? It's not end all. We haven't found a perfect solution. This works for every single project. So it'll be a continuous learning aspect for us. But I think given how successful the overall product launch has been, it provides a good grounding fundamental for us to build on top of.
Thank
And Rohan,
you.
just to add, there's so many people that were involved in this project. So listing them all would be all the people that were specifically involved deserve a lot of credit. And Zane and Modi too on the tech side just really knocked it out of the park in terms of interacting with the customer and developing all these tools in place just to keep the project going, and not only going but providing value add. So it's been a great a great execution overall, and it only solidifies the successful launch of this solidifies how great of a team we've been able to that we've collected along the way, and it only makes me hopeful for Horizen. If this is what we could do with an ecosystem that's out there, it makes me very hopeful of what we can achieve in building the Horizen ecosystem.
Couldn't agree more, Rosario.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for the inputs on that question. Let's see, the second one is also related to APE project. So many were expecting the APE token to be on Horizen and not an ERC20 token. What tangible benefits does Horizen get from this partnership? Any commitment from BC to launch something on Horizen in the future?
Yeah, actually, this is a really good point. In fact, it slipped my mind. It was one of those topics I wanted to just directly address in my talking points. But so the bottom line was the Bored Ape Yacht Club has their NFT collection on Ethereum. and that was just a logical place where they would want to do their fungible token. But then also from the pragmatic perspective was we didn't have token mint ready. We didn't have token mint, but more importantly than just token mint, we didn't have the broader Horizen ecosystem yet ready, where we would have this kind of full compatibility and interoperability stuff baked into it. We're on path to do that, but this goes towards my, the first lesson that I mentioned here from this project was sometimes it's just worth diving right in, even if you're not fully ready on your end. And we weren't. We don't have the full complement of components that would be needed to get that type of project in Horizen yet, but we will. In fact, we've seriously expanded our technical and non-technical capabilities to make that a reality through this project. So that's point number one. But point number two was when we signed up with Yuga to do this project, we did have a gentleman's agreement that we're going to have them as one of the premier NFT brands that would make a debut when we're ready on our end. And that's something that we'll see if they have the capacity, bandwidth, and willingness to do when we're ready to make that happen. But it's something that they were enthusiastic with when we started the project. But then also on the other end, it gave us quite a bit of resources from doing this, and really just gave us different diversified business lines that just make, as an example, the economic resources available to the Horizen ecosystem significantly higher than they would have been had we not taken on the project. So I can say there were many, many, many both direct and indirect benefits from working on this project. And it's something that I would say is going to be a complete game changer for all of us.
Thank you, Rob. And the third and final question I have to confess is mine, because nobody was writing any questions, and it's Horizen vision for the next 3 years.
Oh, Angie, okay, for sure. This is actually, I don't know to what extent it'll be published, but I did actually a big whiteboard session with the team here in Milan last week or the week before that I think we have edited and potentially available to the public to see. But it all comes again to compatibility and interoperability, those two magic words that are the key here. Because what Zendoo can do is it can integrate in a variety of different technologies that are really agnostic. So it's not like we have to choose a particular path and just be stuck to that path like every other ecosystem has. Every other ecosystem collapses this real option set of things that they can do into kind of a single path, and they move on it. Zendoo allows us to do many things in parallel and have them all interoperable natively in one ecosystem. So just to be quick about it is, you guys know that the next 6 months are going to be token mint, adding an NFT capability quickly, and EVM. Those are the big things. And then we're going to need help on figuring out what would be the next technology that we're going to integrate in. Because I think we want to do that. I think we want to showcase that we are not just one of the couple of dozen other projects out there that has an EVM and that's the end of it. No, we could also integrate in, again, just an example, and I've said it before, we can integrate in the Cosmos Tendermint. We could integrate in Cardano's virtual machine. We could integrate in an instance of Solana, right? So we can integrate in these different technologies and make them natively interoperable because they're integrated in with Zendoo. And then we would have the sidechain to sidechain interoperability piece. And then at this point, it gets really interesting because then you could see there will be things like, yes, this is kind of mimicking compatibility with other ecosystems, but then we can start carving out things that just make sense that only we can do, or maybe like our technologies say best suited to do. And it's not just this mimicking element, but maybe we would do things like, I don't know, again, just a pure example. Maybe we want to have, instead of an AMM operating on the EVM, which we will have, maybe we would want to have like a hardcore dedicated, super fast, snark-enabled AMM on its own sidechain. It's just an example. Maybe we could do that much better at much better scale, much better speed, and potentially provability with snarks. So that's just one example of what we'll do once we catch up on the compatibility of major technologies. We are going to be looking for that piece of the Venn diagram where like our SDK, our native technologies could actually solve problems in ways that are just better and different and dominant or better than other things out there like EVMs. So anyway, more to come, but we have a very clearly defined 6-month roadmap ahead of us, or just call it even an annual roadmap for 2022. which will probably be augmenting realistically because we have many more resources now, and we're going to be adding even more resources. So things are going to be accelerating. But as we're going through this restructuring of our technology teams and integrating them with the rest of the organization, like we're doing, or like we did with the ApeCoin project, like we're doing with Token Mint, and like we're going to do with the EVM project, we're just going to be a delivery machine where we'll have half a dozen, then a dozen different projects ongoing concurrently with their own teams, integrated teams, running them, and then just having these things with just regular programmed deliveries that are all kind of working with each other in a coherent way towards a single strategic aim. And that aim is going to be, again, compatibility and interoperability. I think are going to be the big advantages that we have over others. So anyway, I'll stop there, guys. We could talk about this all day.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rob, for answering my question as well as the questions from the community. I guess I just got too excited from earlier meetings and roadmap and things like that. So anyways, okay, so those were the top 3 questions. Thank you, everybody, for being here with us each and every week. That's a wrap, and I hope you all have a great week. See you later. Bye.
Bye, guys.